Hi, y'all, reading Flat Stanley Chapter 3, and possibly maybe Chapter 4. Mr. Lambchop had always liked to take the boys out with him on Sunday afternoons to a museum or roller skating in the park, but it was different when they were crossing streets or moving about in crowds. Stanley and Arthur would often be jostled from his side, and Mr. Lambchop worried about friend of Mr. Lambchop. Okay, never mind. Speeding taxis or the hurrying people might accidentally knock them down. It was easier after Stanley got flat. Mr. Lambchop discovered that he could roll up roll Stanley up without hurting him at all. He would tie a piece of string around Stanley to keep him from unrolling and make him a little loop in the string for himself. It was as simple as carrying a parcel, and he could hold on to Arthur with the other hand. Stanley did not mind being carried because he had never much liked to walk. Arthur didn't like to walk either, but he had to. It made him mad. One Sunday afternoon in the street, they met Ralph Jones, an old college friend of Mr. Lambchop's. Well, George, I see you have brought some wallpaper, Mr. Jones said, going to decorate your house, I suppose. Wallpaper, said Mr. Lambchop. Oh no, this is my son Stanley. He undid the string and Stanley unrolled. How do you do? Stanley said. Nice to meet you, young fella. The man said George and said to Mr. Lambchop that the boy is flat. Smart too, Mr. Lambchop said. Stanley is third from the top of his class at school. Phony, said Arthur. This is my younger son, Arthur, Mr. Lambchop said, and he will apologize for his rudeness. Arthur could only blush and apologize. Mr. Lambchop rolled Stanley up again, and they set out for home. It had rained quite hard while they were on the way. Stanley, of course, hardly got wet at all, just around the edge, but Arthur got soaked. Late that night, Mr. and Mrs. Lambchop heard a noise out in the living room. They found Arthur lying on the floor near the bookcase. He had piled a great many volumes of the Encyclopedia Britannica on top of himself. Put some more on me, said. When he saw them, don't stand there, help me. Mr. and Mrs. Lamshop sent him back to bed, but the next morning they spoke to Stanley. Arthur can't help being jealous, they said. Be nice to him. You're his big brother after all. The next Sunday, Stanley and Arthur went to the park by themselves. The day was sunny but windy too, and many older boys were flying beautiful, enormous kites with long tails, made in all colors of the rainbow. Arthur sighed. Someday he will. I will have a big kite, and I will win a kite flying contest and be famous like everyone else. Nobody knows who I am these days. Stanley remembered when his parents had said he went to a boy whose kite was broken and borrowed a large spool of string. You can fly me, Arthur said. Come on. He attached the string to himself and gave Arthur the spool to hold. He ran lightly across the grass sideways to get up to speed. Then he turned to meet the breeze. Up, 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 up went Stanley, being a kite. He knew just how to manage on the gust of winds. He faced full into the wind if he wanted to rise and let it take him from behind. When he wanted speed, he only had to turn his thin edge to the wind carefully a little at a time. So that did not hold him, and then he would slip gleefully toward the earth again. Arthur let all the string, and Stanley soared high above the trees, a beautiful sight in his red shirt and blue trousers against the pale blue sky. Everyone in the park stood still to watch. Stanley swooped right, then left in a long matched swoop. He held his arms by his sides and zoomed at the ground like a rocket and curved up again toward the sun. He slipped and circled and made figure eights and crosses and a star. Nobody has ever flown the way Stanley Lamchop flew that day. Probably no one will ever again. After a while, of course, people grew tired of watching, and Arthur got tired of running about with the empty spool. Stanley went right on through showing off. Three boys came up to Arthur and invited him to join them for a hot dog and some soda pop. Arthur left the spool wedged in the fork of a tree. He did not notice while he was eating the hot dog that the wind was blowing the string and tangling it about the tree. The string got shorter and shorter, but Stanley did not realize how low he was until leaves brushed his feet, and then it was too late. He got stuck in the branches. 15 minutes pass before Arthur and the other boys heard his cries and climbed up to set him free. Stanley would not speak to his brother that evening at bedtime, even though Arthur had apologized. He was still cross. Alone with Mr. Lambchop in the living room, Mrs. Lambchop sighed and shook her head. "You're at the office all day having fun," she said. "You don't realize what I go through with the boys. They're very difficult." "Kids are like that," Mr. Lambchop said. "Phases. Be patient, dear." The Mazam Thieves, Chapter 4. Mr. and Mrs. O.J. Dart lived in the apartment above the lamb chops. Mr. Dart was an important man, the director of the famous Museum of Art, downstairs, downtown in the city. Stanley Lambchop had noticed in the elevator that Mr. Dart, who was ordinarily a cheerful man, had become quite gloomy, but had no idea what. 9 men and I will keep trying. Meanwhile, I hope people will buy tickets for the policeman's ball and not park their cars where signs say don't. The next morning, Stanley Lambchop heard Mr. Dart talking to his wife in the elevator. "These sneak thieves work at night," Mr. Dart said. "It is very hard for our guards to stay awake when they have been on duty all day. And the famous museum is so big, we cannot guard every picture at the same time. I fear it is hopeless, hopeless, hopeless." Suddenly, as if an electric light bulb had lit up in the air above his head, giving out little shooting lines of excitement, Stanley Lambchop had an idea. He told it to Mr. Dart. Okay, bye, y'all.